Chain of events. This is a Terry Nation episode of The Persuaders, and Terry Nation's a great writer. This one is a little bit of a standard, nothing super great, but still a pretty good episode. We're going to talk about it using my space system: story, pacing, artistry, characters, enjoyment. Each category gets a score between 0 and 2. 2 is the best. You can get, I think, a storyline of 1. 1 means it's okay. If I give it a 1, it's okay. It's okay. Basically, Tony Curtis, there's this guy who steals this briefcase that has all this important information on it, and he's got it handcuffed to his wrist. He jumps out of a plane. His parachute lands in the trees, and he dies. Danny finds him, and the guy's still kind of alive, and chains the briefcase to Danny, and now Danny's stuck with it, and then there's good guys after him and bad guys, and they're all trying to kill him for the briefcase. It's pretty much just him avoiding getting killed the entire time, so there's not really a story. There's plot in the sense that little things happen where he avoids them and hides, and then they try to get the case off his arm, and then he meets this doctor and tries to get it off that way, and then they x-ray the case to see what's in there. It's just a bit paint by numbers for me. It's just all very kind of generic. It's like exactly what's going to happen pretty much throughout the entire thing. So I wasn't dying over it, but it's still okay. So I'm still giving it one point. The pacing, I'm also going to give it a 1 point because I found myself waiting for things to happen that I knew were going to happen rather than anticipating what's going to happen next. Like what's going to happen next? I can't wait. Versus like, yep, here we go. Oh, yeah, and there's this. Yeah, okay, good. There's some decent tension here and there. One of the better things was the villain, which I'll get to characters in a moment, but there's an angle where these cops are all looking for Danny. So this guy kills one of his own men and puts a briefcase chained to his arm. And then it's like, oh, look, they found him. And then they call off the search. That was a great idea. So that was part of the story that was actually a really cool idea. That was probably really the only cool idea that they had, which was pretty awesome to get them to stop searching. So that was clever. Artistry, I'll give it 1.5. There's a lot of outdoor shots or in the woods. There's not really a lot. There's like some decent action, some decent fist fights. It's okay. Some shooting. It's not too bad. Everything looks good. There's a great part in the beginning where Brett and Danny are camping, and they're camping out, and you see Danny get up and he's all like rough, and then Brett has like this tent, and he has like a little mini stove and a mini shower and all this, and he's like, oh, I'm roughing it, and it's like, what are you talking about? So you're not roughing it at all. That was kind of funny. So they had that little setup that was cute, but yeah, everything looked good. Everything was fine. Characters, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 2 for the characters. First off, Danny and Brett, obviously we know that they're the best. I really like the female agent in this one. She's a good guy, and she could fight, man. She was fighting the guys pretty good. She was a pretty solid character. The villain, there's a villain who's the guy who's out to get the case, and he's like a smart villain, so he tries to outthink Danny. He was awesome. He was a great character. So even though the story was simple and the plot was kind of predictable, it was still done well with the characters. So this one, again, it felt more of it wasn't a character study, but it was more of a character. The characters were cool, right? That's where we're getting at. For the enjoyment factor, I'll just give it a 1. I thought it was okay. I'm not dying over it. It's probably on the lower tier of the Persuaders ones. And what's funny thing is that it doesn't have the mistaken identity thing. So it does have a mistaken identity because they think Danny is the one who's the guy who stole the case. So actually it is kind of a mistaken identity one. Not as bad as some of the other ones, but still a bit goofy. Look, I love all these episodes. I'm ranking them against each other. I'm not putting this episode against another show. I love this show. So I'm talking about it from a perspective of I love it, and I'm trying to scrutinize a bit more and really nitpick a little bit. So 6.5 out of 10 for this one. Still a solid episode. A 5 is okay. 6 is a pass. This is more than a pass. So I really like this one. Anyway, even though I graded it a little bit lower, there's just some that have been so amazing that those are the really high up ones, and this one's on the lower end. That's it, everybody. Please check out the playlist for classic TV shows. Like and subscribe. That's it. Until next time.